Okay, we'd like to get started here. Um, we'd like to welcome you to this public meeting regarding TARDA's winter service changes. Under Title VI rules, we host one of these meetings whenever there's going to be a major service change coming up to allow people to hear about what the changes are, what the reasoning behind the changes are, and to make comments based on what we're going to do. There's a public comment period that runs for the next couple of weeks. And these particular changes, which deal with Route 2 service to Oregon, Route 52, and Route 51, if they're approved by TARDA's board in October, would take effect on would take effect in January of next year. My name is Andy Cole. I'm the communication and marketing manager for TARDA, and we're pleased that you joined us today. Also with us today and doing most of the speaking here today, doing the lion's share of the lifting, will be Sean Smith from our development and planning department. So I'd like to hand it over to Sean right now. He'll be able to tell you a little bit more about exactly what the changes will be, what the reasoning behind those changes is, and the options for people who those changes affect. Sean?
Thank you, Andy. I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right. Andy, are you able to see my screen?
I am.
All right, I'll go jump into it. Today we'll be reviewing the proposed major service changes for the winter 2024 assignment. This includes the Route 2 modification, the weekend frequency increase for Route 52, and the removal of Route 51. In addition to the changes to the fixed line, I will briefly note about the proposed expansion to the fixed service area as well. What is currently the Rossford zone will expand to include the Oregon jurisdiction and some of East Toledo. Once in place, this will be referred to as the East Zone, and a trip within the East Zone will still cost $3 per ride, and transfers to TARDA's fixed route service will be free of charge. Keep an eye out for additional details. We'll be posting these on the TARDA website. TARDA is required to ensure its transit service is available equally within the service area to minorities, non-minority residents, and individuals with low income. Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits any form of discrimination on the basis of race, color, or national origin. It also requires transit agencies to analyze the potential effects of major service changes. Equity analyses are required regardless of whether the proposed changes are believed to be detrimental or beneficial. TARDA defines a major service change as when a route is eliminated or if 25% or more of the route miles or revenue miles are changed. That includes for any particular day of the week. For the purpose of Title VI, we look at the minority rate and low income rates for the census tracts affected by the changes in service. If any service change affects the minority and or low income population by more than 20%, TARDA's policy is to implement mitigation efforts or make sure alternative options are available. We also seek to get public feedback before committing to any of these changes. As we look at this slide, I'll like to note that, there we go. Note that the proposed service area minority rate is 35.5%, and the poverty rate would be 21.5%. For the Route 2 proposed modification, there's minimal change to the minority rate and poverty rate. For the Route 51 elimination, the current minority rate and poverty rate are fairly low and are lower than the minority and poverty rate for the general area. And for Route 52, similarly, the minority rate and poverty rate are lower than the general service area. The proposal for Route 2 has it extend along Star, Wheeling, and Navarre in order to provide access to the major shopping centers. This also extends the 3/4 miles buffer service area for TARPs. So the orange area shown here would be what would be the TARP's service area. Route 52 will not change shape. Route 52 provides a circular service around Tremainsville, Secor, Sylvania, and Franklin Park Mall. In conjunction with balancing service scheduling and to improve weekend service, the frequency will be increased just on the weekends. With this chart, you can see that the frequency increase will nearly double the weekend service for Route 52. The removal of Route 51 was part of the near-term improvements proposed with the TARTA Next last year. The removal will mean stops along Alexis and Talmadge north of Monroe will no longer have fixed route service. However, the TARP's 3/4 mile buffer will not be reduced. We'll be grandfathering in anyone who currently has service in that area. The service area will be maintained for those paratransit users. For those who still need service for the area, TARTA Flex Northwest Zone is still an option. Additionally, TARTA fixed line service will still be available from other routes on Secor, Monroe, and around Franklin Park Mall. Here we have a average rider count for Route 51. And you can see here that Route 51 was the lowest performing route. It's one of the reasons we're looking to have it removed. Ridership sample size was taken for Route 51. This did include some overlap with additional routes, but from this sample, there were 2,245 riders. Alexis and Talmadge north of Monroe only accounted for 92 boardings in the total sample period. That's less than 7 riders per day on average. For the most part, 61% of the area riders occurred just at the Franklin Park Mall stop. With Title VI, we also look at spoken language. The one thing that we note is that the northwest area of the service area does have a higher number of Arabic speakers who speak English less than very well, based off of the 2020 census. For the most part, Spanish and Chinese speakers was fairly low, but we do make note of the potential language needs. And again, I'll bring back attention with the Route 51 removal. There are alternative services. The TARTA Flex service for the Northwest Zone is available for the entire area that's being removed in Alexis and Talmadge north of Monroe. The Flex service can attach or connect to areas like the Franklin Park Mall, as well as other areas further out into the microtransit on-demand service. Up next, we will be collecting comments, concerns, and any other kinds of feedback about the proposed changes until September 22nd. These will be presented to the TARTA board on October 19th. Assuming everything goes smoothly, these will go into effect in January 2024. This presentation will be posted on the TARTA website, and the complete Title VI report will also be posted on the TARTA website after the public comment period. At this point in the presentation, we can move to the Q&A portion.
So while we won't be able to take questions in the actual chat function during this session, I thought it'd be helpful to go over a few questions we've gotten from some of the other respondents at some of these other public meetings. And again, well, Sean, I'd like to, it's September 22nd. The public comment period lasts through September the 22nd. We do want to collect as many public comments as possible, as many questions as possible on what's going on with these routes, or any concerns anyone has.
Any questions and comments that come on like social media, if it's emailed or called in, those get collected. Also, anyone that's called, since we don't have the active Q&A up, you can email me directly at smith@tarta.com, and I'm happy to answer those questions, and I can even make those posted on the TARTA website.
Okay. go over a couple of the questions that we've received from others at meetings regarding these specifically. I guess the first would be we talked a little bit about the Oregon expansion. Um, there was a question about specific stop locations in Oregon. Oregon. Sean, that's not something we know yet, correct? That's still something we're talking about.
Yeah, we don't have that information public yet. That will be coming out, and there'll be more details when the routes more public advertised, most likely after the public meeting. Sorry, after the board meeting.
So we're losing with the elimination of the Route 51, but the extension of the Route 52. There's a few blocks that don't. You'd mentioned the tarps. Anybody needing tarp service who lived in that area would be grandfathered in. They'd still be able to receive tarp service.
Yes, we will be maintaining that service area.
What is the increased frequency of Route 52 entail again? Is that increased frequency on the weekends and increased coverage area? What exactly is changing with Route 52?
The only thing with 52 is the weekend service the frequency will be increased approximately, it'll be doubled. And again, this is just a result of how we do some of the route scheduling. For those who are familiar with 52, it does interline with some of the routes, like 19. So this helps us balance everything out.
I'm sure a lot of people have questions about flex in terms of, I mean, it's something that many people have used, but not a lot. You mentioned flex would be an option in the areas of Route 51 that aren't going to be covered by another route. So that would be they'd be able to request an on-demand ride really anywhere in the Northwest zone. What else does that entail? And what would they need to do to be able to take advantage of that if they haven't done that before?
Yeah, Flex is our fairly new on-demand microtransit service. It can be accessed. We have the Flex app. You can also call in and request a ride. Rides are $3 per trip, and you can do free transfers to the fixed line system. There's 3 zones currently: the Northwest Zone, the Southwest Zone, and Rossford. The Rossford Zone will be expanding into with Oregon and becoming the East Zone next winter. These you can travel within each zone. The Northwest, Southwest zones, they overlap, so you can connect between zones there. And there's you can find more information on TARTA Flex on the TARTA website.
John, I know ADA doesn't necessarily, considerations don't necessarily fall into Title VI, but when our planning and development department is putting something like this together and determining what changes need to be made, can you tell me how ADA is considered and what? I mean, we've already talked about the tarps folks being who take Route 51 or near the Route 51 area being grandfathered in. But what other considerations are made when a change like this is made for TARTA?
The biggest impact is public feedback. So comments from individual riders and or organizations who represent riders. That's really what can sway our decision making at that end.
We also received some questions at previous meetings about bus stops, newer bus stops. Do we have an idea of when the bus stop signs will be at every bus stop and exactly what the time frame is for that?
We do have a new bus stop design. We're currently working with the city of Toledo to get those rolled out. They're better visibly larger print. They also include information about what routes are being served by those stops. I don't have an exact timeline yet, but we're hoping to get those rolled out this year.
And there's also a lot of concerns at some of the other meetings about benches that have been taken out recently, be they our benches or the city's benches. The city is working on replacing the benches they've taken out, correct? Is there
Yes.
sort of a rhyme or reason to that? I mean, do we have a timeline on that?
There's not an exact timeline yet. I know the city of Toledo is working with an advertising company with those benches, and they've recently started a new contract with a new company. So we're going to work with them to highlight the high ridership areas, and then we're also going to be working with some of our partnership organizations to note any special locations that could use those benches.
I want to reiterate to the folks listening online that again, we're taking public comments through September the 22nd. You should feel free to just ask any questions. Send any to Sean Smith at smith@tarda.com or to myself at acole, ACOLE, @tarda.com. We'd be happy to get you an answer to any questions. And again, we like having these public meetings, and in terms of the other two in-person public meetings were very helpful to us in terms of just figuring out what our what the ridership's going through every day and exactly what questions they have when we do make a change like this. Every set of service changes, including this one, is to use the resources we get from the public. The end goal is to use the resources we get from the public as well as we can, to use what limited resources we have as well as we can, and to be able to serve as many people as we can. That's the end goal here, and that's the idea behind maybe rethinking routes that don't have a lot of ridership and extending some other routes. You heard Sean mention that the idea is for the number 2 route to go out to stops in Oregon, go through East Toledo, make a stop at the hub downtown, and then head out on its regular route to Franklin Park and to Flower Hospital, offering a 1-seat ride for anybody who's going from Walmart in Oregon out to Franklin Park or Flower Hospital, or really anywhere along that 2 line. But we don't have specifics yet on exactly where those stops in Oregon will be. That's still something we're working on with the city and trying to figure out the best way to serve everybody. We're excited to be making that service expansion, but at the same time, there's a lot of work and a lot of thought that goes into it, and a lot of meetings like this. And so we do want to hear everything anybody has to say about any concerns at all about the expansion or the contraction, or what's going on with Route 52 or 51, or really anything else. The improvements that TARDIS made in the last 3 years have come almost entirely from suggestions from the riding public, from public engagement sessions, from people like you, things that the riding public directly asked for. And so it's something where, we want as many suggestions as we can as we try to build this system to best serve the people of Toledo and Lucas County and Rossford. That's really all we had for today. Again, I just want to go over the email addresses one more time. If you've got any questions at all about the 52 to 51, any of the changes that might be coming up over the winter, emails are smith@tarda.com and acole@tarda.com, ACOLE@tarda.com. We'd be happy to try to run down an answer on anything for you. We've been through a couple of the other questions that people have asked at other meetings, and we want to hear as much as we can before going forward with this and making decisions. This will be in front of TARDA's Board of Trustees again on October 19th, and if changes are approved, they would take effect early in 2024. So, Sean, is there anything else to go over? Anything else we needed to cover?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. We want to thank you for joining us for this public meeting, and look forward to your attendance at future public meetings. And again, any questions at all, we're always happy to answer them about this or any other service change that's coming up. Thanks again for joining us today, and have a wonderful day.